Hello, everybody, and thank you for joining me today. It's Allan Laboucan with the Rocks and Stocks News Show. Got another of our interviews with junior mining company executives, in this case, Blackrock Silver, which is one of the sponsors of our reports. And they had news out yesterday that they're cranking up to get drilling at their Silver Cloud project, where they have already hit Bonanza-Grade holes of 70 grams of gold, over 600 grams of silver. Andrew, sometimes I don't think that investors do enough homework, but when you tag the boiling zone of an epithermal vein system, that is a spectacular event, especially to hit the kind of grades you guys did. I bet you're just chomping at the bit to get drilling.
It's been a long winter, but just as the seasons pass, so do there's our next campaign up at Silver Cloud. So we finally got access back up there after one of the most brutal winters in Nevada in over 50 years, and yeah, we're very eager to get going. I mean, I'm a junior mining exec, as you said, but this project is a former major mining project that both Teck and Placer did a little bit of work on right as the gold market was absolutely tanking in the 99, 2000, 2001 era. But we just pulled off the discovery that both Teck and Placer were hoping for but didn't. And it turns out that the chairman of my company, Bill Howell, used to be the head of exploration for Placer Dome. So he's wanted to get back up there for 20 years. No one's really done much with the project ever since Blackrock got their hands on it. It's the reason why we got him signed to this deal right when I joined on 4 years ago this week. But this was always the potential for the project. I mean, Silver Cloud is literally the missing link between the two highest grade historic gold mines in Nevada. And when both of those mines, Hollister and Midas, were producing back in the early 2000s, they were some of the highest grade gold mines on the planet, like Fosterville type numbers. And we've got a system that's sort of the big donut hole in the middle, where both of the systems are pointing directly at us, and we just tagged a discovery hole that was even better than the Midas discovery hole, which was probably, as you like to say, the biggest cash cow in Nevada back in the early 2000s. So
Here's a little bit of the regional idea of here's your hit, here's the big mines that you're talking about, and here's the hole in the donut.
right, and what's interesting, they're with the Hollister and Midas are both on the Northern Nevada Rift, which is a classic low sulfidation epithermal system, but one of the highest grade epithermal districts in the world. Certainly in Nevada, these are the two highest grade historic mines there. Now, what's interesting about them is at Hollister, the veins go east-west, so they line up pointing right at our project. In fact, some of those veins were mined up right just close to our property line. And at Midas, which is northwest of us, the veins there go north-northwest. They also point directly at our project. We're in the middle there. This is, we've got 45 square kilometers in Silver Cloud, which has got to represent, one of the best underexplored epithermal districts in all of Nevada. And we're starting now with some serious data to work with because, as you said, we just tagged, we had our big aha moment. And that was that multi-ounce gold discovery. We now know which way things are running there. We know which way the veins are oriented. Before, we didn't know if it was going to be like Hollister with the system going east-west or Midas going north-northwest. And we've now got 425 meters of strike between the original discovery hole that Placer Dome made in 2001, which Bill sat on that rig for. And now, 20 years later, we finally pinned the tail on the donkey and we've cracked the code. We always knew there was a high grade system there. We just didn't know how to locate it. Now we do.
Andrew, I'm looking at this map and I see some faults that just stand out along those two through your property. And then if you zoom in a little bit closer, you can see a series of faults here, 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 here,
Right.
here. And you guys are, I think you're in the key portion of that claim now. Where you
Right. Well, I mean, there's a lot going on there geologically. Geologists love touring it. It's like going to Disneyland up there because this is, this district goes back, 100 years in terms of mining activity, but it wasn't for gold and silver. It was for mercury. Silver Cloud, Northern Nevada Rift is actually part of what's known as the Ivanhoe District. And the Ivanhoe District, from say 1910 to the 1960s or 70s, was the largest producer of mercury in the Western United States. And Silver Cloud was responsible for half of all of that production. In fact, Silver Cloud's named Silver Cloud not because of the silver content there, which, as you said, we've hit 600 grams up there in our discovery hole. It's known as Silver Cloud because of quicksilver, which was mercury. And this was the biggest mercury producer in the Western United States. It accounted for half of all of the production in the Ivanhoe district. Now, Ivanhoe is a name that should ring the bell for many mining investors, and that's actually what the mine next door used to be known as. So why is mercury relevant? Well, mercury is the mother of all pathfinder elements when it comes to these low sulfidation hot spring systems. What happens is the hot springs bubble up all of the commodities to surface, and the heavier the commodity, it falls out along the way. So mercury, being one of the lightest at surface, is a hell of an indication that you're on top of a massive epithermal system. So we knew it's a pretty good start. Now, Ivanhoe next door, or sorry, Hollister next door, in the 1980s, I think, you had a lot of groups going in there with a new understanding of the epithermal model. They knew there was mercury there, so they started drilling it out, looking for gold and silver. And that's where they hit this high grade, well, it wasn't a high grade, it was a low grade halo right from surface of gold and silver. That was Robert Friedland's first ever operating mine in the 1980s. It was operated as Ivanhoe. It was just a small little open pit. They didn't even know, they weren't drilling at any serious depth, so they didn't even know about the high-grade vein system underneath for about another 20 years. But obviously, he liked the name so much that he kept it. And, we're just happened to be on trend of the Midas mine, which, a little up-and-coming mining entrepreneur named Pierre Lassonde got his hands on in the 1990s. In fact, Franco changed her business model and got into the mine building business on the back of that discovery. Ended up getting taken out by Newmont and producing something in the order of 3 million ounces at a head grade of 30 grams per ton gold. Hollister got its start after, Friedland had left in the, I guess, the late 80s. No one really searched at depth until Great Basin Gold got their hands on it in the mid 1990s, late 1990s, as the Midas discovery was taking shape. They saw they were hitting some serious grades at depth. And they made the Hollister discovery right next door to us. Now, what's interesting is all of this activity going on directly next door to us and directly up at the Midas mine just north of us. Most of that activity was really ratcheting up in the early 2000s at a point in time that no one wanted to touch Silver Cloud because it had a really, really onerous royalty deal associated with it. For about 20 years, between 2002 and until Blackrock got his hands on it in 2018, it had a 10% NSR on it because what happened was Teck Resources got their hand on it in 1999, knowing what was going on at Hollister, knowing what was going on at Midas. They did a maybe 4,000 meter drill program, doing the same thing that they did at Hollister, which is going right back to the mercury mine and drilling underneath it. They were hitting some serious grades, but that was back in the days when, gold was just going down and down. Yeah. And Teck actually ended up leaving Nevada that year. They closed their office.
I remember.
But our chairman, Bill Howell, he was head of exploration for Placer Dome at the time, which was, one of the biggest major mining companies on the planet and the mover and shaker in Nevada. He knew the results that Teck had drilled out. He knew what was going on at Hollister, and he knew Midas, and he convinced Placer Dome to take the project over, to form a JV with Teck. He made this discovery 20 years ago in Northwest Canyon, which is what we just sort of confirmed, where when gold was 250, I think they drilled 12 meters of 5.5 grams per ton on a very, very small program in an area that had never seen any drilling. Imagine you hit 12 meters of 5.5 grams per ton and you lose your budget. Well, that's what happened to major mining companies. So no, not all the major mining companies sort of turtled as they are right now from doing grassroots exploration, and they focused on the brownfield stuff or replenishing their own reserves. So Placer ended up, despite the really successful round of drilling they did, having to leave the project, but they didn't want to give it up either. So they tacked on another royalty to it, and they started vending it out to just typical Vancouver special sort of companies, but with a really, really high NSR on it. So after Placer dropped it, they and tacked on their own royalty on top of the royalty that Teck had. It had a 10% NSR on it, meaning who in their right mind would drill the thing? Heaven forbid you hit something. So fast forward 2018, the original Teck lease that the project was done under, where all the royalties were attached to, got ripped up. No one wanted to keep paying the minimum fee on it. And Blackrock got their hands on now what is representing a time capsule between the two of the highest grade mines in Nevada, undrilled for 20 years since the discovery hole that Bill made. But we've finally been able to follow up on it because Placer did go back the year after Bill drilled that 12-meter 5.5, and they tried to figure out if they could actually figure out which way things were running. They couldn't. A discovery's not made just on the first intercept. The discovery's made when you can actually line things up and know, one, is there size potential, and two, where in the hell is it running? We almost had the same fate as Teck and Placer did, in the sense that we were given what we've got at Tonopah, which was clearly our flagship and globally significant discovery, which we've now backstopped with some of the highest grade ounces in the ground in the silver industry. But we had no mandate to do anything up at Silver Cloud, so we just did a three drill hole campaign just to. I wouldn't have been able to sleep if I dropped that project. And
Hail Mary.
Yeah, and we hit. So we've hit now. We know which way things are running, and they're running in the exact same direction they're running at Midas. In fact, it's like our system points directly up at them. Midas, as I said, 3 million ounces from three veins, three main ore shoots that all that production came from. And that was at roughly an ounce per ton. Our discovery hole was at 2 ounces, roughly 2 ounces gold per ton, same vein widths as Midas. Now this is the fun part. We're not shooting blind anymore. We know where it is. And finally, we got to go up there in a week or two's time and start laying into that structure. This is the highest grade intercept we've ever had as a company. Knowing the area we're in, we think that there's potential to do even better. And we're hoping for a very fun summer on the drills.
I think that I pay so much attention to these epithermal vein systems, Andrew, because I know how lucrative they can be. You look at Mag Silver, as they were building that mine, before they even got it into commercial production. So in the ramp up phase, it was making so much money that they didn't have to send any money to Mexico as the partner in order to cover the capex to put it into full commercial production. These things are cash machines. You look at Silvercrest, and I'm bringing this up for two reasons. You'll know why, but let's keep it on the Northwest Canyon. At Silvercrest, they just put out their first quarter of full commercial production. They're producing silver at $11.45 an ounce, and they are paying down their debt for building it. They've paid off 95% and also building up their cash position. These epithermal vein mines are spectacular. And Andrew, the grade of gold that you have far surpasses. They're mining 600 grams of silver.
Right. Yeah.
Without 2 ounces of gold.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Yeah. And, the nice thing about this is we wouldn't, should we be able to walk this discovery forward? Should we be able to start showing some size potential here? This isn't a mine that we'd ever have to build ourselves. We're walking distance to the Hollister mine and mill that's on care and maintenance. We're also about 8 miles away from the Midas mill, which is now on care and maintenance. Those things are hungry for ore. And at the grades that we're hitting and at the grades that, the Northern Nevada Rift's known for, you don't need kilometers and kilometers and kilometers of strike. You need 1 or 2 good veins tracked over 500 meters to maybe 1.5 kilometers, and you'll see some serious ounces pile up because of the grade. So it's not a high tonnage operation, and we wouldn't have to build anything. But what
And those are going to become more and more important because when you're moving 50,000 tons a day, you're consuming a lot of fuel.
right?
And so you can make a lot more money on something like an epithermal vein system because you don't have to move as much rock. It's so high grade.
Right. Well, listen, as I started the show, I said, it's been a long winter for us waiting to get back up there with the drills to follow up on the discovery. But it's, we're still in the midst of a long winter for the industry as well. But I know one thing, and that's that good market or bad market. One thing still moves the needle always, and that's high grade discoveries. This is as early stage as prospective of a discovery as you can get. There's not many companies in the industry right now following up on a multi-ounce gold discovery that's sandwiched in between two of the highest grade historic mines, in Nevada. When they're in the heyday, they're both top 10 highest grade gold mines in the industry.
And
But there's no
making money at
Yeah.
under $300 an ounce, mind you.
Right. So in terms of the return on investment, we could see just from this small 2,000-meter program we're doing just to confirm the discovery and start working our way out from that structure. This is one that can really, really move the needle. I mean, just on our ounces at Tonopah alone, if you look at how we're valued right now, I'd say we're undervalued just on that, meaning this is a
Andrew,
freebie.
I want to get into Tonopah because I think it's a major driver of value. But before we do that, I want to bring up your news release because some things stood out to me. So you announced yesterday that you're getting ready to start drilling. So then I'm going to zoom down here. Okay. Remember earlier I mentioned mag silver. Well, the veins that they found don't come to surface either. They're called blind veins. Very important. And here is the intersection with one hole cutting through that. It remains open, up dip, down dip, a long strike. And here's the plan map. And you guys are going to go after it in a big way. Here's the your green ones are your planned holes,
Right.
and the blue are your our second phase. But you're going right after extending the strike length, and I imagine that some of these holes will test different elevation.
Yeah, we're going to be doing up dip, down dip, undercut. Yeah, exactly. So we're going to be stepping out, going back to the scene of the crime. That first big intercept, which is that platform, which is the pink one there where the line is. And then, we're going to just work our way out. We don't need to do massive step outs on this because at these grades, you don't need them. But what we see is, as you go north there, you'll see some of the historic drilling, which some was successful in hitting mineralization, including the original placer dome holes to the north. And, to the south, that's an area with no drilling historically. So,
but look at where some of these holes were done,
right.
way away from this.
Yeah, well, this is a blind discovery, right? You don't know which, at Hollister, for example, it took them about 120 drill holes after they made their discovery hole where they hit their first sort of high grade vein hosted deposit, but it took them 120 drill holes because at the time they thought it would be running similar to Midas and the other deposits on the Northern Nevada Rift. It wasn't. They had to effectively drill all the way around in a big circle until they finally hit something that lined up east-west, and that was their aha moment. Our aha moment was tying this together with that intercept that Bill drew with Placer Dome near the top there.
Right here, right?
Yeah. It would be to the north, about 400 meters. A little higher, where the SPCs 14s, 19s, those are that's that area where that original intercept was. So we're we got very, I won't say lucky, but because you got to drill to get lucky. But effectively, there was drilling on either sides of that original placer dome hole trying to hit it. We didn't. We went to an area where there was no drilling previously, which is where the discovery was made, and we pinned the tail on the donkey. So now we've got about 425 meters of strike established, but most importantly is we know where it's running.
And it's still wide open. These things can
Yeah.
go on for a kilometer or two.
Well, at Midas, their main veins 1.5 to 2 up to 2 kilometers. In fact, Hecla's actually got a new discovery. So Hecla owns Midas and Hollister now. Originally, they were both developed and operated by different companies. Hecla came in and bought a company called Klondex in the mid 2000s for about $700 million. So we're now the donut hole in the middle of Hecla's claim block there. But Hecla's got a new discovery just north of us on their Midas property, and they've drilled out about 2 kilometers with some eye-watering grades: 100 grams, 150 grams, 180 grams gold over the same vein thickness. Midas, all that production came from veins that were 1 to say 3 meters thick, but at some really good grades, and we think we've got that same potential here.
You know what else excites me about this new discovery that you've made is that where you find one, you often find many.
They don't happen. Yeah, they don't just come from outer space, right? I mean,
Right.
there's a lot going on geologically here, right? I mean, even though these veins are blind, hidden and buried under 200-300 meters or so of cover. You've got past mercury mines all over the project, showing that there's this massive hot spring system of all of these elements bubbling up and getting deposited along the way. You've got sinter throughout the property all over. I mean, this is a project that geologists love to tour. I mean, and to the south of us, I mean, we're right next to the world's largest gold mining complex, the Carlin Trend. I mean, so we're next to some of the biggest mines in the world to the southeast of us. And, where we are, we're right next door to the 2 highest grade mines on an epithermal belt called the Northern Nevada Rift. I mean, it doesn't get better real estate than this.
No, for sure. And I always like to make a few predictions with you, Andrew. And one of them is that I think that as you test this vein more, there's a high probability that you're going to tag some more veins. And what really excites me is that you now have the elevation to test other veins that you could find at the boiling zone, because you know where in the elevation from surface down, how deep you have to go to tag the boiling zone.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So we've got no shortage of data now. In fact, last year around this time, we actually engaged a company called Goldspot, which is a machine big data company. I think they just changed their name to Earth Labs. But these guys did a full-on regional analysis for us. We got every piece of data we could get our hands on, from geophysics to all of the historic reports from Midas, everything. And they computed all of that data into I guess target compilation for us. And we haven't even, there's so much going on from a regional perspective all around us that terabytes and terabytes and terabytes of data computed to come up with 10 other targets that we haven't even tested yet. So and a lot of them are around the same areas we've been drilling, but targeting different potential structures. So our only limitation is time and money, but I guarantee you, if we pull out similar numbers to what we've just done here, or what the Northern Nevada Rift's known for, and start showing some size potential, this will get on the radars of
you could even get lucky and just on an angled hole chasing this vein, you could tag a parallel vein in close proximity, and it could be blind as well. And I think that's what you're going to do, Andrew.
Yeah, well, exactly. I mean, this is the first real, the last round of drilling we did here, we didn't really talk too much about, because I didn't want to raise expectations beyond, no one expects to make a multi-ounce gold blind discovery on a 3 drill hole program. You have to understand, this is a massive project. It's probably double the size of what we've got in our land holdings at Tonopah. And there's target areas all over where gold has been encountered, generally mostly through very shallow drilling. We know there's a massive system on the property, but we finally got the key to unlock it. And the grade here is going to be something that, as I was saying, good market or bad market, the only thing that really moves the needle in any market is high grade discoveries.
Especially something that can be low cost and high margin money making machine of a mine at today's price, 500 lower or 500 higher, and it just kicks off free cash flow.
For sure, for sure. So, we're, as I said, this is a program that I expect Hecla's probably going to be watching pretty closely. Given they've, Newcrest actually just entered the area last year. They did a deal on a project called Midas North with a junior company for up to $30 million US earn-in. Our Silver Cloud project would be the equivalent of Midas South. Now, to give you some, that deal that Newcrest did is on a piece of land, similar hot spring system, a lot of mercury occurrences up there too. $30 million US earn-in deal on a project that's not had a single drill hole. What do you think ours is worth now that we've got a multi-ounce gold discovery there? This is, this area is
multiples of your current valuation.
Yeah, well, right now you're getting a free ride on this. This is one that, we're backstopped. All the analysts, if you read any of our analyst research reports, the way they come up with their targets is based off of Tonopah alone. It's based on a P/NAV asset value ratio. That means this right now is getting zero love. If we hit, that's probably going to change significantly.
Okay.
Our lithium discovery down there, that's getting zero. We're getting zero value for that. When we get our resource on that by the end of the year, that'll change. There's so many potential catalysts lined up here, but this is the one that I'm most excited for because, multi-ounce gold discoveries in the best jurisdiction on planet Earth next to the world's largest gold mining complex doesn't happen very often. This area is a lot like the Golden Triangle, except for the Golden Triangle's got 30, 40, 50 companies with people like me pounding the table because they're all being operated by smaller juniors. This area of Nevada doesn't have any juniors pounding the table. It's only the big boys in there. So this is a hell of an opportunity. It's a big opportunity for a little company.
And, earlier I had mentioned Silvercrest's Las Chispas statistics for a reason, because you look to have a look-alike at Tonopah.
Yeah.
Their maiden resource was very similar to your maiden resource. Fast forward to now, they've got a money-making machine of a mine, and you have every reason to believe that you could be sitting on something that's just as important on grade, costs. Everything is very similar to the Las Chispas mine of Silvercrest. And they turned it into a mine. At one time, there were $16 or $17 a share, and they came from like 10 cents a share in 2016. You guys have a great project at Tonopah that isn't getting the love it should either.
Well, you know what? It's just, you do the right things, but at the wrong time, you get, some pain. And, just so happened that silver resource projects, especially, valuations have been absolutely crushed in the last year. I mean, if you look at ounce in the ground valuations right now for high grade stories like ours or Vizsla or Dolly Varden, we're only trading for $1, $1.10, $1.20 an ounce. Last time silver was $26 in February of last year, those same ounces would have been trading for $3 to $3.50. Now, these things don't last forever. And, as I said, winter's coming to an end, both metaphorically and hopefully, there's some light at the end of the tunnel in terms of what the Fed's going to do, in terms of the debt ceiling, all of that, and potentially, the market's already pricing in rate cuts for the end of the year. If that happens, $2,000 gold or $1,900 gold isn't the ceiling that it's always been. That's the new floor. And we're not far off that. So, we know what we've got at Tonopah. We know that it's, one of the highest grade undeveloped projects in the industry, but it's on private land in Nevada. Most of our competitors are, in South and Central America right now, or in very far flung places like, the Keno Hill. We're on 3-hour drive from Vegas, 3-hour drive from Reno. for Tonopah, right next to a town, don't have to build anything, and it's private land. So, we're really, in charge of our destiny there, to say the least.
Andrew, I believe that's going to be a future mine that is a cash-making machine.
Oh yeah. Well, listen, Tonopah was historically, I mean, this is a brownfield discovery that we've just walked forward. Or the two areas we drilled out at Tonopah were just the two areas that the historic miners were planning to mine, but couldn't get around to it because metals prices tanked and no one's been back in there. Now, what the best part of the story is that we've now gone beyond the two areas, Victor and DPB at Tonopah, that the old timers were working on and developing, and stepped out substantially and hit new structures that are all wide open. I mean, this district's past producer, and I expect that one day, it'll see a lot of action in the not too distant future as well. So, I know that at grades like that, it's hard to deny. So you just need to put your head down, deploy capital when it's smart. Tell you what, like in a market like this, where, ounces in the ground have gone down by 2/3 at least. It's not the time to be doing infill or expansion drilling and deploying large sums of money for a resource project just to advance the ball there for the sake of advancing it. Where we'll get the most bang for our buck, where we can really, really move the needle quickly and cheaply, is at Silver Cloud, because there ain't too many companies in the world following up on 70-gram gold discoveries. And given our valuation right now, we hit
70 grams of gold and 600 grams of silver.
Right. Yeah. So, watch and see. I think this is going to be a fun summer in a few different regards. One is the macroeconomic policies, the Fed's bank runs, de-dollarization, all of that, and hopefully, not too distant rate cuts. But, it's this discovery here, high grade, this is a past major mining project. There's a reason why the major miners wanted it, and there's a reason why I think that they'll all be following.
And there's major mines around you in the same kind of rock, the same kind of structural story, and you found a new vein, and you found that Bonanza-Grades. And now it's just a matter of expanding on it, depth, top to bottom, along strike, and finding more. And you guys tick all those boxes.
Right. And, given our valuation right now, I mean, as I said, up at Silver Cloud, we're surrounded by Hecla. First Majestic owns the Jarrett Canyon mine just northeast of us as well. And we also happen to have a nice little silver story, one of the highest grade deposits in the world, undeveloped, 6-hour drive from there. So do you think, as takeout potential goes, as takeout candidates go, if we hit here, at what point do we become a no-brainer? At what point do the companies start fighting for these ounces, this grade in this jurisdiction? I mean, what's going on in the rest of the silver market globally. What's happening in Peru. Mexico's got this new legislation that was just passed. And those are two of the largest silver producers.
And here you are in the most important mining camp in the world, or jurisdiction in the world, and you've got something special, and those kind of special epithermal veins are not easy to find, Andrew, and you guys have 2 sets of them, one at Tonopah and now here at Silver Cloud.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Well, I've got a hell of a geologist and a hell of a team. I mean, there's a lot of gray hairs.
It's not all you, Andrew.
Well, I hired them. But it's been a hell of a ride. But you know what? There's, you look at the stock chart, and my goodness, the last year's been absolutely wild. But if you actually, as an investor, look at it, you say, "What the hell do these guys got?" And then you look at the value. Well, that should start getting things to percolate.
Never been a better time to take a position.
Well, listen, I'm one of the few CEOs in the industry that actually isn't afraid to eat his own cooking. I put over 300 grand into the market this year, looking at it, just looking at the valuations, looking at all of this, not just myself, but my peers. This is something that there's a big financial mess brewing. Gold and silver are doing what they're supposed to be doing, but ounces just aren't being reflected right now, and that's a point in time where you jump into the water with the big beach ball, and there's only a certain amount of time that you can hold it down before it pops right back up. Well,
Absolutely.
we're backstopped by real ounces. Tonopah will have a resource on our lithium project probably by the end of the year, is what they're saying, which is in elephant country in the lithium world too. And this is, the most prospective end of the Lassonde curve, and that's where all of the money is made. We were at our all-time high stock price on the first few drill holes at Tonopah. Now, in hindsight, we probably should have stopped drilling, because the market always, if you've got no idea of the upside potential there. Of course, it was also mixed with, at a great time in the market too, where silver is $30. But at Silver Cloud, we're in that early stage. Couple more drill holes forward, and I think that's where the discovery is confirmed, and that's where the majors might be looking at evaluation saying, holy shit, this is too good to be true. And that's where
Not just majors, institutions, and
oh yeah,
serious retail people, because these things are not easy to find, especially you can find an epithermal vein, but then finding the boiling zone is the trick. And you guys have already tapped into it, which makes for a home run, out of the park home run potential.
Agreed. Yeah, it's a major mining project run by a major mining geologist, which is Bill. And it's in the hands of a junior that right now has got a $60 million Canadian market cap.
56.
56, there you go. So, this is the definition of sale. I think once the debt ceiling negotiations, once there's some clarity there, and maybe the next Fed meeting, if that's the official pause, then I think risk capital enters the market and people start wondering when the cuts begin. And that's when gold and silver will really run. That's when investors will pile in. And that's when it's too late, because, this has been a low volume sell-off for not just us. If you look at TSX volume, TSX venture volumes, go back 10 years. We're at a 10-year low on volume. All of this value destruction for resource projects like ours has been a low volume sell-off, very, very low volumes. It's just barely on life support industry wide. This is the TSX venture, not just us. When things turn, they turn like that. People start chasing, the sellers disappear, and all of a sudden you'll see 20%, 30% moves in a day or a week, sort of thing.
And
but
they're really,
too late.
when the generalists come in for the reasons you're describing, they won't find a big menu to deal with, and Blackrock is on that menu.
Right. Yeah. And, we're funded. We're this program's going to take us probably through summer, results through fall. And maybe maybe depending on the day, we might rush one or two of those as well. Keep everyone on their toes. But, I think that's when you'll start to see the tide start to rise for the industry in general. Marry that with a follow-up on our discovery hole or two, with some good grade potential in there, and then we're off to the races.
Awesome. Let me close it off, Andrew, and we'll have a chat at the other end.
Great.
So Andrew has alluded to some key reasons that I'm bullish on certain companies in this sector, and that is that there's a sea change happening with the gold and silver. You've got bank crisis, you've got the Federal Reserve causing inflation and banking crisis, out of control debt, and a currency war that is, these things are unstoppable. And the market is starting to see it in the gold. Silver hasn't really even started to participate, and the mining juniors are not entered the party yet. But I think that these things are all going to come together, and Blackrock is doing drilling on an exceptional epithermal vein that is probably part of a cluster that they've already tagged into the Bonanza-Grade zone. And now that will give them, they can expand on the Bonanza zone and also look for other epithermal veins, because they always come in clusters. And they're sandwiched in between two really important mines. I think that this company is very underappreciated, not just for Silver Cloud. They've also got the lithium, and they've got what I think is a Las Chispas Silvercrest lookalike in the early days at Tonopah. Collectively, this company is worth a lot more than their current valuations, and importantly, they have the catalysts to change that scenario, not just in their own work, but in what is coming for gold and silver. On that note, do your homework, speak to your financial advisors. Have a great day, and we'll talk to you soon.
Drill